Alright, third episode is out, and actually, I like it. So, what happened? Well, the little gremlin did gremlin things. And by that, I mean caused massive amounts of damage to, well, millions of dollars of giant robots. Good job, little gremlin. Anyway, so how was episode 3? It was good. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I think I like it more than the first episode, and the show is growing a bit on me, which is nice. Now, starting off, I'm not going to say it's perfect, nor am I going to say it's super fantastic, right? But it's a solid episode that not only has a good pace of action, but also has a good direction that I feel the characters are going in. It's providing interesting enough plot progression, and it's providing a decent enough spectacle that makes me want to continue to tune in. So, overall, I'm not that disappointed, right? Now, obviously, the main character was the main focus of this episode. The most popular Gundam protagonist didn't sneak his way in to the episode and dominate it. But yeah. So, the general plot is that they're in the underground fighting ring, and they get into it. They get into their little scuffle, their little brawl. But it didn't fully work out the way they intended, because they actually can't go into the next clan battle because the new mobile suit they have only responds to our main hero. And she's off doing her own thing, but then she gets recruited by the underground fighting organization, and after a little bit of persuading and a little promise of money, she gains our second protagonist, I want to call her. Now, technically, she is the second protagonist, or that's what I assume she is, because she's also the character in the ending, as oh, this character is critically linked to our main protagonist. But then when you watch the episodes, she does not matter at all, so it's kind of odd. But yeah, overall, it's, fine. Anyway, though, so they all get dragged in. They meet a mysterious new character who, guess what, is a new type, and he connects to her on an emotional level. And so then she recruits him to fight in the underground mobile suit battles. And that's where Zeon finds out that they are using the Gundam for that, and they're not really too excited about their super advanced war-winning weapon being used in underground fighting rings, but they are taking their time and biting it slow so they can most likely get the jump on them. My guess is next episode they're going to try to investigate the entire staff of or all the high schoolers that they can, in order to find out who the pilot is, thus getting the Gundam back, right? I'm guessing that's going to be a major component of either this episode or the next episode. Speaking of episodes, though, I brought up last episode how I did not believe it would benefit the pacing at all to have an entire episode dedicated to Char. And while I did love that episode, still, I really am wondering how it's going to play out. Obviously, though, right now, the pacing issue, I want to put that in quotations, is not that big of a deal, just due to the fact that, well, it's a, good, solid episode, and the last two were nice and solid. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it pushes the plot in a little interesting way, and it does build up the underground fighting arena as a, fleshed out enough location or a scenario that we can properly invest in it without having too many questions. We obviously have questions, but there's not so many that it becomes unbelievable in the world of Gundam, which, is something you need if you're making a story in the world of Gundam, right? Also, this does something really big. So, the Red Gundam is fine, from what it seems like. Now, I assumed that the Red Gundam was a reconstruction of the original Red Gundam that Char had. It was like built in his image, yada yada, right? But they seem to be implying that there was some new type nonsense going on. And one thing you gotta remember is that if new type nonsense is going on, that means Char is somewhere around the corner. Like or evil dictators, but like honestly, I just kind of hope it's Char. You know, gotta pick your poison, right? Anyway, so Char, or not Char, but the mobile suit itself seems to have been the same one that was in the new type fiasco in episode 2. So that means that most likely the mobile suit at least should or was not fully dissolved, which also means that the new Gundam most likely was not dissolved in Char's counterattack. Most likely. The reason I am bringing this up though is because I've said it multiple times. This is supposed to be an alternate timeline of the UC, but that also means if something were to happen in this timeline, we could make the logical assumption that it would happen in the next timeline, right? Like, for example, if we hear about a solar flare that happened in 0070, 0078, that most likely means we can use that information to fill in the gaps of the original 0079, right? So it provides some additional information, but it also brings up another question. So does that mean the new Gundam and possibly Amuro might have not been completely dissolved in Char's counterattack? And if that's the case, and this brings up that question, it's going to open a massive, and I mean a massive can of worms that I don't know if this show is ready to handle. I gotta be honest, I don't think the Gundam fandom is ready for that. If Amuro comes back to life, that's gonna be wild. I genuinely don't know if they can handle it or not. But, hell, we're gonna try, right? Anyway, overall, despite the eggshells that they're currently walking on about that point, this episode was quite solid. It was enjoyable, it was fun, it was exciting, built up the world a little bit, and you know what? The Gremlin's awesome. I'm liking her more and more every day. Every episode I watch, you know, she's a little gremlin, but you know what? She's our gremlin. She's the Gundam Gremlin. Anyway, this is Rox signing off because he has to go edit a YouTube video. So, goodbye, folks.